I just personally, like, knowing the way that a Fangio scheme works, I cannot stand the way this safety room looks as far as, like, like we talked about lining up today.
Yeah.
And, I will preface this with, I think I have a lot of faith. I've spoken very highly about Andrew McCoop on this show. Think he's a good
Yep.
football player. But I also have stated multiple times that I don't want to put too much on a young guy's plate. And I don't think Vic wants that either. And I think that, we can talk about this since we're here. I think the trade of Sidney Brown and the immediate signing of Epps and JT Gray is a good signal as to what they're doing. There is a chance that they are going to shortchange safety as opposed to these other positions, just like they did with outside cornerback 2, which would imply that we've got a Andrew Makuba guaranteed starter. He's definitely going to play. And opposite from him, we have a potential competition here between Marcus Epps and Michael Carter. Michael Carter is making the transition from nickel to safety. This is confirmed within the building. And, this is a little thing about Michael Carter. So Michael Carter out of Duke was drafted by Joe Douglas and the Jets. And he was moved from safety to nickel because they felt that he could be an elite nickel in the NFL. And he was really good up to that point.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he was the best, but he was really good. He crossed paths with the new DB coach, Joe Casper, over at Duke. And Joe Casper was the safeties coach. He's now the DB coach, taking over the role of Christian Parker, who's now the DC with the Dallas Cowboys. I think that people forget Michael Carter's only 27 years old. So this idea that they're so old at that position, because
I think people don't know who he is, to be honest with you.
What's that?
I don't think people really know who he is.
Jets fans are pretty familiar. Guys in the AFC know about him a little bit more than people in the NFC just because he was, stuck on the Jets. But he was really good he was good with the Jets. He was good in the nickel. When they made the trade for him, there wasn't really a lot of room for him. He caught on there at the end of the season. Vic Fangio really likes him and trusts him a lot and has actually referred to him as one of the best man cover corners or man cover DBs.
He talked about that in during training camp.
Yeah. So I just think Carter, I think there's upside there, but I do think that this is a position of concern. Like we've used this, so far in the show. Can they line up today at safety? Yes, they can. Can they line up at edge today? No. So I think that's why you put edge over safety. Are we happy with what they have at safety? No. But Howie made us wait till I believe it was August something before the trade for Gardner Johnson in 2022. And we were going to assume that Anthony Harris was going to line up next to Marcus Epps. Gardner Johnson gets traded, 9 days before the game? He ends up playing, and then the rest is history. They make the Super Bowl run. So there's always a deal that's potentially in the works. Mr. Howie Roseman does a great job of that. But I think as we stand today, can they line up? Yes. Am I happy with the room? No.
No, I do agree. I don't think. See, my philosophy has always been, I think, the other way around. You can hide, and I don't call our secondary poor because you got 2 All-Pros back there, but you can hide a poor secondary with a great pass rush. I don't think the other way around, right? You can have a great secondary, but it won't hide a bad pass rush. But sooner or later, too much time, they dissect you, and you can only cover somebody for so long, right?
Well, and I think the other side of it is they have to be married equally. Obviously if you have a premier pass rush, but you have a bunch of, and I hate to say this just because I like the guy, but a bunch of Adoree Jacksons out there, you're not going to get anything done because you just can't do what you need to do. But like you're saying, if you have a healthy mesh between the two, but you're heavier towards the line than you are the back end, you should be okay. As opposed to if you heavyweight the back end to the front, it's not going to go so smooth for you just because, like you said, those guys can't cover all day. But I will ask you this question from your point of view. Is it easier to hide the outside cornerback opposite Quignon and outside of DeJean, or is it easier to hide the safety opposite your starter? And I mean that because this is a mix. This is a match, carry, deliver scheme. So there's a ton of communication between all the guys.
I think it's the way they play safety, because like you said, it's kind of almost positionless safety where they kind of switch in between your traditional strong and free. I think it's probably easier to hide that safety than it is that corner, because we've seen that corner get isolated, right? And they isolate that player, and they just some schemers just attack that same corner, and they've tried to move him. Like look at Ringo, right? They move Ringo around, they still go after him.
Adoree too. I mean, Adoree was targeted heavily throughout the year.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. But I think because of the way Fangio plays this defense and the way our safeties kind of can be interchangeable in terms it's really not a strong or a free. I think that you can kind of hide that a little bit better. And I'm actually a fan of Epps, right?
Oh, I
I
like it.
think, yeah, I think he's a smart player. He kind of reminds he does he's not Blankenship. I think Blankenship was a little bit maybe a leg up on him just because maybe Blankenship had a little bit more size and a Blankenship had a little nose for the ball with his career 9 picks. But I do think that Epps is in that same mode, just a smart player, knows where to be, knows the scheme. He'll make a play or two. He's not going to wow you with anything. He'll be a somewhat of a short tackler, but he's not a star. He's a fill-in. I wouldn't even call him a starter. He is a he's a
yeah.
second. He would be he would be the first guy off the off the bench. He'd be your third safety.
Ideally, he's your top third safety.
Yeah,
fills
he's your
in and whatever packages he needs to fill in. And yes, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact of that knee injury he suffered in Vegas, and part of the reason why he got cut from New England was he just can't run like he used to. Wasn't much of a track star before by any means. And he has definitely lost a bit of a step. But I think he can suffice. I would have to say I think Carter would probably have the upper hand just based on where we're at today. But I do think, let's just say they don't add anything. I think, I think you would say Marcus Epps.
And we got to forget he's been around for a while. Like it's not like Epps is this is like his first year. What is he? 2020?
He's 30. So I mean, he's going into like year 7 or 8, something like that. I mean, he's deep into it.
He's been around for a while. Yeah, he's been around. He's a vet. So
he is. But I mean, do we want that guy to roll out there and start every game? Like this isn't the Chargers where they're going to throw Tony Jefferson, who's like 36 or 37 out there just because they trust him, just because of the communication. It's a complicated defense on the back end, and the way that I've been taught this defense and the way that I've learned about it was that position is very, very, very important. And that's what's kind of gone against the Eagles' philosophy is that you need really good off-ball linebackers and you need smart safeties. So,
and I would consider Epps I think Epps, and I think Makuba is too. Makuba was starting until it's unfortunate he got hurt, but he was starting to
Sidney Brown
get it.
If you remember, Sidney Brown, pretty sure hit him and rolled up his ankle, but
I'm so glad he's gone, bro.